You know exactly how this goes. You find a new hobby, and for 2 weeks, it completely takes over your life. You watch hours of tutorials. You buy all the gear. You stay up until 3 a.m. completely consumed by it. You think, finally, this is the thing I'm going to do forever. And then, one Tuesday morning, you wake up, look at the equipment, and just feel nothing. The thought of doing it makes you mildly tired. So you put it away, and you never touch it again. If this sounds familiar, you've probably spent a lot of time beating yourself up. Society has a name for you: flaky, non-committal, a serial hobbyist. You watch other people stick with the same guitar or the same business idea for 20 years, and you feel a deep, sinking guilt that you just can't seem to make anything stick. But what if I told you that losing interest isn't a character flaw? What if the very act of suddenly dropping a passion is actually a highly sophisticated neurological process? Here's the thing nobody tells you. Your brain isn't designed to stay interested forever. It is designed to learn, adapt, and move on. Let's start with what's actually happening in your head when you get obsessed. Most people think dopamine is the reward chemical. You do something good, dopamine floods your brain, and you feel happy. But neuroscientists have known for years that's not quite right. Dopamine isn't the chemical of satisfaction. It's the chemical of anticipation. It's the fuel that gets you to the reward, not the reward itself. When you start a new project, your brain is swimming in dopamine because everything is novel. Every tiny bit of progress feels like a massive victory. You're mapping out uncharted territory, and your brain loves it. But here's where it gets interesting. There's a concept in neuroscience called habituation. It's the brain's built-in efficiency engine. When you do something for the first time, your brain lights up like a fireworks display. It's assigning massive resources to figure out the rules of the game. But once you understand how it works, once the challenge is gone, the brain drastically reduces its energy output. It figured it out. Mission accomplished. The dopamine faucet gets tightened, and suddenly, the activity that felt like magic last week feels like a chore today. Your brain didn't break, it just graduated. But there's more going on than just raw neurochemistry. For a lot of people, this cycle of intense hyperfixation followed by sudden disinterest is tied to something psychologists call optimal arousal theory. We all have a baseline for how much stimulation we need to feel engaged. Some people need very little. They can knit the same scarf for 6 months and feel totally content. But people who lose interest quickly, their nervous systems are calibrated differently. They are novelty seekers. They need a constant drip of new, complex information to feel alive. When the learning curve flattens out, their arousal levels drop below their optimal threshold. It physically feels uncomfortable, like a kind of cognitive restlessness. So they drop it and move on to the next thing. Now, some of you might be thinking, okay, that explains hobbies, but what about people? Why do I lose interest in relationships or friendships the second things get stable? This is where we have to look at the darker side of this psychology, because sometimes losing interest isn't about habituation. It's a defense mechanism. In the early stages of a relationship, whether romantic or platonic, everything is a mystery. You're trying to figure the other person out. It's high dopamine, high novelty. But as the relationship deepens and becomes predictable, the mystery fades. For someone with an anxious attachment style or a deep-seated fear of vulnerability, that predictability feels suffocating. The moment the other person is fully won over, the brain subconsciously panics. The chase is over, which means the safety of distance is gone. You have to actually be seen now. So, the brain manufactures disinterest. It convinces you that the person is boring or that you're just not compatible, giving you a guilt-free exit before you have to do the hard, unglamorous work of real intimacy. The same thing happens in careers. Some people quit jobs right before they're up for a promotion, not because they aren't ambitious, but because succeeding means staying. It means being held accountable. So, it's important to know the difference. Are you losing interest because you've extracted the novelty and your brain is ready for a new puzzle? Or are you losing interest because staying means facing your fear of failure and leaving feels safer? Because one is an evolutionary adaptation, the other is hiding. But for those who genuinely just love the rush of the new, those serial hobbyists and project hoppers, there's a massive hidden strength that society completely ignores. Think about how human tribes actually survived for hundreds of thousands of years. You needed people who were deeply loyal, cautious, and perfectly happy maintaining the same routines day in and day out. Those were the farmers, the builders. But you also needed scouts. You needed people whose brains were wired to wander, to investigate the shiny thing on the horizon, to learn a new skill rapidly, extract what was useful, and move on. If the entire tribe consisted of routine builders, the tribe would have died out the moment the environment changed. People who lose interest easily are the scouts. They are the rapid learners. Studies on personality psychology show that people with high openness to experience and high novelty-seeking traits tend to be highly creative, highly adaptable, and exceptionally good at connecting seemingly unrelated ideas. Why? Because they've dabbled in 100 different fields. They know a little bit about coding, a little bit about carpentry, a little bit about psychology, a little bit about music. When they face a problem in one area, they can pull a solution from a completely different domain. They aren't flaky. They are multidisciplinary by nature. The mistake you're making isn't in how your brain works. It's in judging your scout brain by the standards of a farmer society. You're expecting yourself to act like a settler when you're wired to be an explorer. Now, none of this means you shouldn't try to push through the dip occasionally. Finishing a project, mastering a skill past the point of boredom, those things build a specific kind of resilience. But the shame spiral? The quiet, low-grade belief that you're fundamentally broken because you can't stick to one thing for 50 years? That part has to go. You don't have a commitment problem. You have a rapid onboarding system. Your brain is exceptionally good at figuring things out. And once it does, it aggressively redirects your attention to the next frontier. That's not a flaw. That's a feature. If this hit home for you, please subscribe. And if you want to support these deep dives, hit that join button to become a channel member. I would genuinely appreciate your support. And if you want to understand another part of your brain that society gets completely wrong, click the video on your screen right now. You'll see why your tendency to overthink is actually a superpower in disguise. Click it. You'll understand why.